Before the invention of the GPS, or before Siri was born, those who navigated ships across the waters had to find their way through many difficult situations. I often wonder how they found their way when they were surrounded by nothing but water in the middle of nowhere. Without a GPS, they relied most likely upon a compass as they looked to the stars, the sun, and the moon, as they looked to the location of the planets. But in particular, they looked to the North Star because it remained at the same place in the horizon, and the North Star became their guide and showed them the way. Today's gospel, we listen to the beginning of Jesus' farewell discourse. And Jesus, knowing in the Gospel of John that he is about to die, is saying goodbye to his disciples, his friends and followers, those people he loved so much. And he tells them, do not let your hearts be troubled. Do not let your hearts be troubled. He wants to create a space for them. And he tells them, where you are, I also will be. And then in the midst of their insecurity and their not knowing and their not understanding, he says to them, I am the way, the truth, and the life. The disciples were often very slow to understand what Jesus was telling them, and they were probably very slow and didn't totally get or understand what he was saying to them. Jesus invites us to trust him on that way to life and on the way to love that he invites us to. And he invites us to trust even when we do not see the path as clearly as we would like to. Now, these disciples were in a very vulnerable place because Jesus was leaving them. They didn't know what would come next. Their lives were filled with fear and unrest. And yet, here we are, 2,000 years later. We find ourselves in a similar place. We find ourselves today living in a place just like those disciples were. Their vulnerability was a lot like our vulnerability. Living in the unknown, living without a sense of security, living without a sense of control. The insecurity of life right now was really a similar insecurity to what Jesus felt, to what the disciples felt when Jesus was preparing to leave. And what did Jesus do? He challenged them in the midst of the insecurity and fear and uncertainty. He challenged them to love. At the Last Supper, he took that towel and washed their feet and then challenged them to go forth and to do the same thing for other people. This dwelling place that Jesus is talking about today, that dwelling place that he has prepared for the disciples and for each one of us, is a dwelling place of love. The way of life that he shows them is a way of love. As we look around the world today, we don't have to look very far. In fact, it's so easy to see so much anger and hatred and isolation and greed and racism and self-centeredness, just to name a few. And yet in the midst of it, Jesus is there showing us yet another way. His way isn't only a map that we are given to follow with instructions, but his way is a way of life, and it becomes our way of life. And just as the ancient mariners looked to the North Star to show them the way, in these difficult times, we look to Jesus. In these times of uncertainty and insecurity and fear. Because the promise of this Easter season is that God has not left us alone, nor will he ever. God does not abandon, ever. So, do not let your hearts be troubled. Jesus tells his disciples. Do you believe that? Deep down in your soul, in your heart, do you believe what Jesus is telling you here and now? At this moment, in this day, in this hour. Do you believe that? Do not let your hearts be troubled. Are we given in sometimes, just a little bit, or are we tempted to give in to the unrest and the fear and the uncertainty of the world or of our nation? The vulnerability, the lack of hope, the uncertainty has been the way of life for us for so long. In our own personal lives, when whatever it is that life throws at us and we're dealing with it and when we're in the middle of that storm, do we go back and are we confident of these words that Jesus gives to us? Do not let your hearts be troubled. I will show you the way. My friends, in our day-to-day lives, there are so many things that call for our attention. Many different things that say, look to me. I can be your North Star. Look at me. I will show you the path of life. Look at me. Follow me. I can lead you and be your guiding star. But yet again, in In today's gospel, Jesus invites us to embrace something that is bigger, stronger, and more powerful. Jesus, yet again, is giving us an invitation that he gives to us over and over and over again in our lives. He gave it to you when you were 5. He gave it to you when you were 7, when you were 12, when you were 42, when you were 28, and he gives it again to you today at this point, at this day in your life. The call to discipleship is a call that isn't one and done. There's never a one and done call to follow Jesus Christ. It's a call that is given to us every moment. And sometimes we're good at it, and sometimes we're not. But nonetheless, that call keeps coming to us. And we have to keep saying yes. And we have to say yes to everything that Jesus is asking us every new day on this journey. There's something in your life right now that's waiting to be born. You might not know what it is, but God does. Jesus is inviting you to trust, inviting you to embrace. Something new is waiting to happen. And Jesus is working in your life, giving you the resurrection power that you need to give your life to him totally, to say yes, to surrender, to allow something to be awakened, perhaps to let go, to love the world in a new way. Can you hear that voice within you? I can. That's God saying, hi. Can we hear those words speaking to your heart right now? I am the way, the truth, and the life. Yeah, the disciples were anxious, they were unnerved, they were fearful as Jesus was preparing to leave them. But they came to know very, very soon that they had something great. The power of the Holy Spirit, the power of God that was within them, that can overcome the unrest, the uncertainty, the not knowing, whatever life throws at us. The Holy Spirit whispers those words to us. Do not be afraid. I am with you. Despite the uncertainty, following Jesus and embracing his way of life can make all the difference. The path to discipleship invites us to be connected and reconnected to the risen Christ every day, to allow him to be our GPS, to redirect, to realign our hearts so that his vision and his purpose for our lives becomes clear. And in doing so, in embracing Jesus and living like Jesus, and more importantly, loving like Jesus, we will discover a joy in this life that we have never known before.